you. I put it in my letter, as plain as words could say it." "Yes, yes, Jemmy. I don't complain, my dear, I don't complain. Never mind the money. Tell me how you found her out." "Besides," pursued Bashwood the younger, proceeding impenetrably with his justification of himself, "I have given you the benefit of my experience. I've done it cheap. It would have cost double the money if another man had taken this in hand. Another man would have kept a watch on Mr. Armadale as well as Miss Gwilt. I have saved you that expense. You are certain that Mr. Armadale is bent on marrying her. Very good. In that case, while we have our eye on her, we have, for all useful purposes, got our eye on him. Know where the lady is, and you know that the gentleman can't be far off." "Quite true, Jemmy. But how was it Miss Gwilt came to give you so much trouble?" "She's a devilish clever woman," said Bashwood the younger. "That's how it was. She gave us a slip at a milliner's shop. We made it all right with the milliner, and speculated on the chance of her coming back to try on a gown she had ordered. The cleverest women lose the use of their wits in 9 cases out of 10 where there's a new dress in the case, and even Miss Gwilt was rash enough to go back. That was all we wanted. One of the women from our office helped to try on her new gown, and put her in the right position to be seen by one of our men behind the door. He instantly suspected who she was, on the strength of what he had been told of her, for she's a famous woman in her way. Of course, we didn't trust to that. We traced her to her new address, and we got a man from Scotland Yard, who was certain to know her, if our own man's idea was the right one. The man from Scotland Yard turned milliner's lad for the occasion, and took her gown home. He saw her in the passage, and identified her in an instant. You're in luck, I can tell you. Miss Gwilt's a public character. If we had had a less notorious woman to deal with, she might have cost us weeks of inquiry, and you might have had to pay hundreds of pounds. A day did it in Miss Gwilt's case, and another day put the whole story of her life, in black and white, into my hand. There it is at the present moment, old gentleman, in my black bag." Bashwood the father made straight for the bag with eager eyes and outstretched hand. Bashwood the son took a little key out of his waistcoat pocket, winked, shook his head, and put the key back again. "I haven't done breakfast yet," he said. "Gently does it, my dear sir, gently does it." "I can't wait," cried the old man, struggling vainly to preserve his self-control. "It's past 9. It's a fortnight to-day since she went to London with Mr. Armadale. She may be married to him in a fortnight. She may be married to him this morning. I can't wait! I can't wait!" "There's no knowing what you can do till you try," rejoined Bashwood the younger. "Try, and you'll find you can wait. What has become of your curiosity?" he went on, feeding the fire ingeniously with a stick at a time. "Why don't you ask me what I mean by calling Miss Gwilt a public character? Why don't you wonder how I came to lay my hand on the story of her life, in black and white? If you'll sit down again, I'll tell you. If you won't, I shall confine myself to my breakfast." Mr. Bashwood sighed heavily, and went back to his chair. "I wish you were not so fond of your joke, Jemmy," he said. "I wish, my dear, you were not quite so fond of your joke." "Joke?" repeated his son. "It would be serious enough in some people's eyes, I can tell you. Miss Gwilt has been tried for her life, and the papers in that black bag are the lawyer's instructions for the defense. Do you call that a joke?" The father started to his feet, and looked straight across the table at the son with a smile of exultation that was terrible to see. "She's been tried for her life!" he burst out, with a deep gasp of satisfaction. "She's been tried for her life!" He broke into a low, prolonged laugh, and snapped his fingers exultingly. "Ah, something to frighten Mr. Armadale in that!" Scoundrel as he was, the son was daunted by the explosion of pent-up passion which burst on him in those words. "Don't excite yourself," he said, with a sullen suppression of the mocking manner in which he had spoken thus far. Mr. Bashwood sat down again, and passed his handkerchief over his forehead. "No," he said. nodding and smiling at his son. "No, no, no excitement, as you say. I can wait now, Jemmy, I can wait now." He waited with immovable patience. At intervals he nodded and smiled, and whispered to himself, "Something to frighten Mr. Armadale in that." But he made no further attempt, by word, look, or action, to hurry his son. Bashwood the younger finished his breakfast slowly, out of pure bravado, lit a cigar with the utmost deliberation, looked at his father, and, seeing him still as immovably patient as ever, opened the black bag at last, and spread the papers on the table. "How will you have it?" he asked. "Long or short?" "I have got her whole life here. The counsel who defended her at the trial was instructed to hammer hard at the sympathies of the jury. He went head over ears into the miseries of her past career, and shocked everybody in the court in the most workmanlike manner. Shall I take the same line? Do you want to know all about her from the time when she was in short frocks and frilled trousers, or do you prefer getting on at once to her first appearance as a prisoner in the dock?" "I want to know all about her," said his father eagerly. "The worst and the best. The worst particularly. Don't spare my feelings, Jemmy. Whatever you do, don't spare my feelings." "Can't I look at the papers myself?" "No, you can't. They would be all Greek and Hebrew to you. Thank your stars that you have got a sharp son, who can take the pith out of these papers, and give it a smack of the right flavour in serving it up. There are not 10 men in England who could tell you this woman's story as I can tell it. It's a gift, old gentleman, of the sort that is given to very few people, and it lodges here." He tapped his forehead smartly, and turned to the first page of the manuscript before him, with an unconcealed triumph at the prospect of exhibiting his own cleverness, which was the first expression of a genuine feeling of any sort that had escaped him yet. "Miss Gwilt's story begins," said Bashwood the younger, "in the market-place at Thorpe Ambrose. One day, something like a quarter of a century ago, a traveling quack doctor, who dealt in perfumery as well as medicines, came to the town with his cart, and exhibited, as a living example of the excellence of his washes and hair oils and so on, a pretty little girl, with a beautiful complexion and wonderful hair. His name was Oldershaw. He had a wife, who helped him in the perfumery part of his business, and who carried it on by herself after his death. She has risen in the world of late years, and she is identical with that sly old lady who employed me professionally a short time since. As for the pretty little girl, you know who she was as well as I do. While the quack was haranguing the mob and showing them the child's hair, a young lady, driving through the market-place, stopped her carriage to hear what it was all about, saw the little girl, and took a violent fancy to her on the spot. The young lady was the daughter of Mr. Blanchard, of Thorpe Ambrose. She went home, and interested her father in the fate of the innocent little victim of the quack doctor. The same evening the Oldershaws were sent for to the great house, and were questioned. They declared themselves to be her uncle and aunt, a lie, of course, and they were quite willing to let her attend the village school, while they stayed at Thorpe Ambrose, when the proposal was made to them. The new arrangement was carried out the next day, and the day after that the Oldershaws had disappeared, and had left the little girl on the squire's hands. She evidently hadn't answered as they expected in the capacity of an advertisement, and that was the way they took of providing for her for life. There's the first act of the play for you. Clear enough so far, isn't it?" "Clear enough, Jemmy, to clever people, but I'm old and slow. I don't understand one thing. Whose child was she?" "A very sensible question. Sorry to inform you that nobody can answer it, Miss Gwilt herself included. These instructions that I'm referring to are founded, of course, on her own statements, sifted by her attorney. All she could remember, on being questioned, was that she was beaten and half starved, somewhere in the country, by a woman who took in children at nurse. The woman had a card with her, stating that her name was Lydia Gwilt, and got a yearly allowance for taking care of her,